Hey, what's good? Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Dr. Delon Canterbury, founder of the Geriatrics and the Deprescribing Accelerator. Hope you guys are doing fantastic and having an amazing week. I'm back. Man, there's been a lot of travel lately, but I just got back from New Orleans with the amazing Healthcare Advocate Summit that took place. And I mean, despite it just being such an awe-inspiring group of amazing patient advocates and clinicians, but it really opened my eyes to the world of what more pharmacists can do, clinicians can do in the geriatric space, especially to go to bat for our patients, in addressing these social barriers, these um, honestly issues and gaps in care that came to light. So the Healthcare Advocate Summit, I have to give a shout out to Elizabeth Johnson and Melissa Page, who went in. They did such an amazing job. So I encourage you all to check it out for next year. And I came away with learning so much more that I had no clue about, like PA approval processes, understanding how to leverage patient access foundations, patient advocates, independent patient advocates, understanding revenue cycle management, understanding really the intricacies that we as clinicians probably don't think about in our 9 to 5. So it was super cool, just being exposed to that world. So I have to give a shout out to the amazing, awesome stories I've taken away with everyone thrown into caregiver roles or patient advocacy. I mean, it's inspiring. So I loved it. But welcome back to another episode of our Red Pill versus Blue Pill. There's a lot going on. I'm actually going to be heading to another conference this next week with one of my mentors, Miss Jerisha Hawk. Looking forward to connecting with her in Santa Ana. Uh, and really, today I want to focus more, of course, on how the Deprescribing Accelerator is not only going to set you apart as a geriatric advocate, as a senior clinician, but it's going to show you ways to really grow yourself and serve in the capacity that I feel our professions don't allow us to serve in. And that's something I've had to kind of figure out on my own as I founded Geriatrics in 2020 and started really just getting into the communities, right? But firstly, I want to at least make sure that we're taking some time to acknowledge the fact that the very first international conference on deprescribing took place this last week, September 6th to the 7th in Denmark. It was phenomenal. I was not able to be there in person, but I did manage to catch the recording since I was speaking last week on the value of deprescribing and how deprescribing is the future of value-based care. And it was well received. A couple of amazing people had some great insights, and I'm able to at least put this into more geriatric facing clinicians who have a passion for this level of advocacy. But first and foremost, this is for those who have been kind of binging my content and just kind of creeping along and wondering what the law's going to do next. Um, don't creep. Join our accelerator program. Figure out how this is going to be the next best step for you in leveraging our expertise as whether the drug experts or of course if you are again someone in the senior space, a social worker, a prescriber, PA, doctor, who are looking to really put deprescribing into their core processes, but more importantly discover ways to monetize that within your business. So that is the entire goal of our Deprescribing Accelerator. The deadline is tomorrow, so don't delay. Join, at least apply get to see if this is a good fit for you. And so schedule in the link in our comments, um, set up an appointment with me, and we will try to squeeze you in for our final cohort of 2022. So the red pill versus blue pill, for those who may not know, again, this is unleashing our power and breaking through this matrix of a healthcare system, this just machine that we're all slaves to, and really unleashing our little bit of Neo and Trinity and Morpheus in us to advocate for those who don't know how to advocate for themselves, our seniors, their most vulnerable population, right? That's the goal of this, is getting senior facing clinicians comfortable with addressing deprescribing opportunities, putting this into clinical practice, not just theories, and letting people get comfortable in serving in a light that I feel is sorely needed in our health system. So, our program is different than most in that we provide live coaching in the moment. So, you're not going to get just a bunch of recorded videos. It's going to be a hybrid model where you will have one on one coaching with me. You will also have group coaching with our class lecture. So, as a cohort, we're all going to meet once weekly, and we're going to talk through ways we can implement and integrate deep prescribing. So, no, you're not going to be alone in the forest. You will have me every step of the way, guiding you along the processes on how to integrate this into your business model. Or if you're just looking to develop a whole new service, the whole point of this is to show you that you can monetize deprescribing. We have to change our medication mindset because we think, well, you have to be on prescriptions to get a copay to make money. Like, yeah, that's the old way. We're past that. There's a whole world of opportunity out here. And frankly, there are way more patients in need than those, um, frankly, to actually help them. So the opportunity is there. It's how you position yourself and how you niche your service down to, of course, hit your target audience. So that is what we'll cover and help you discover within our Deprescribing Accelerator. Again, this is a 12-week coaching program. You'll get coaching. You'll have access to our private LinkedIn group. You will have access to the course content for up to a year once you've joined. And you will also, of course, just got approved for CE credit. So everyone who takes this course who is a social worker, PA, a doctor, a medical doctor, DO, as well as a pharmacist or nurse will receive 15 hours of CE credit at the end of our 3 months. So that is a huge win for us. But more importantly, today, despite this being a way that you can better serve and monetize prescribing in our communities, the key to this really is showing that nothing happens if we don't address some of our inner fears. Okay. Nothing really happens if we don't address shifting our mindset to see that this can be an opportunity for you to get your fire back with our profession. But to more importantly, do what's best for our patients for a change. I mean, we try and try we can, but we usually are just trapped by corporate laws, metrics, not having enough time, not seeing another way out, or essentially maybe being just seeing too many patients and not again having the capacity or bandwidth or even the resources to leverage deep prescribing. So we provide that for you. We talk about shifting our mindsets. We talk about harnessing fear and how that has been a motivator, particularly in my growth. But really, the trick here is getting down to the nitty gritty, and that is what is keeping you from living your best life? What is holding you back from your potential? What is that little voice in your head telling you that's saying, "Hey, you know what, that's not for me. I'm not ready for this, I just don't think it will work for me. It'll work for you, but not for me." Why do you think that? I want you to challenge yourself and ask, why do you think that you don't have that capacity or the ability to be the best advocate you can possibly be? And it starts again here with the medications. That's our focus with our Deprescribing Accelerator. So we got to coach through the mindset shifting. And so we do dedicate a module strictly to how you can monetize, but more importantly, how you can face these fears. How can you pinpoint those three things, those main things that are keeping you in your same place that you were in last year and the year before and the year before? Are you content? Are you happy with that? I mean, if you are, fine. If you're fine grumbling about how unhappy you are about our profession or where it's going and you're not doing anything about it, then that's on you. I mean, I can't make you do anything, but I do want you to see that there is hope and that there is a way out and that there are opportunities that are frankly endless as I've witnessed and still see in the geriatric space. I mean, even in just giving a talk 2 days ago to the Triad Living Retirement Association, right? I'm in the room with CEOs of nursing homes. I'm in the room with sales reps, financial reps at a massive, basically a resort uh, that they call an assisted living facility in this huge theater. I guess I should probably post the photos from it. But they even agree that their patients are well over medicated, but don't quite see what can be done. And again, this was an amazing opportunity for me, amazing people, and potentially have some new contracts. But the fun part is seeing how, truthfully, most people don't have a clue where to start. Most people don't have a clue where to start. Like, even if they're well intentioned, they don't have a clue on how to just put this into their systems by asking a couple questions, targeted questions, mind you, for high risk med patients. But they don't see a way out. They just are thinking, hey, we got to get a copay. We got to use our LTC pharmacy. We got to do it this way. When I'm like, hey, how about we look at the value piece here? Look at the patient centered approach. Look at the key indicators that maybe, I don't know, reduce falls in your setting and say, hey, we want all of our nursing home patients off of benzos, off of random psych drugs, whatever. I'm just saying the mindset shift happens when you're in the room and you're able to speak to people directly about the why, about the how this hits your bottom line, how this affects your business, but more importantly, how this affects our seniors, our patients, their quality of life. How are they aging gracefully? So that was a fun meeting. And I was mainly talking about, again, the power of deprescribing, how my grandma was affected by overprescribing within a nursing home. Um, but it was well received, and we're going to have more speaking opportunities on a more statewide scale in the future. So I want to thank AARP, first of all, for sponsoring the event. And I also want to thank the Triad Living Retirement Association for inviting me to share my story. And shout out to Bob Kane, as well as Jared Young and Matthew Johnston. All have been awesome in helping to put this together and allowing me the space to tell my story. But hey, enough about me. This is about you guys today. This is more so about how we can change the tide of healthcare by using deprescribing. We talked about fear for a little bit. We talked about our coaching program is all recorded. Okay, so even if you may miss a module or two, we do meet once weekly, usually for about an hour, hour and a half, depending on our cohort's availability. So I'm very flexible. I try to make that as easy as possible for our cohort. So We all can meet and engage and share amazing ideas, and more importantly, share our wins, share our successes in deprescribing together as a group. So I'm so excited. I can't wait. We've got nurses, we got PAs, we got people in an interdisciplinary, interprofessional scope who can all take this course, get credit, and start using this for their business now. So you not only get live trainings as a class together for about 10 classes, you'll also get monthly coaching one-on-one with me. And then you'll have access to ask any questions along your way with our private membership portal within our LinkedIn Deprescribing Accelerator group. So you can ask all your questions there, and I'll be there to answer them for you. More importantly, the time is now, guys. I mean, we're about to hit open enrollment season. People are looking at Medicare plans. People are looking for whether they should change, whether they should find any cost savings as much as possible. And the opportunity is now for us to start taking back our profession. All right, start taking back pharmacy. Start taking back really healthcare that's been run amok for decades and decades and decades. And this is why this past deprescribing, this international conference on deprescribing was so insightful. Because I mean, I'm no stranger to saying that I think America is behind on the deprescribing efforts, and truthfully, we are. We're basically kind of copying what Canada does, European networks do, Odin, Australia. There are several internationally recognized deprescribing networks that do amazing work, that provide amazing clinical tools, resources, apps, ways to improve quality processes, way to put in implementation strategies. Hey there. This deprescribing accelerator program is a great question. Someone asked if this is intended for caregivers or for medical professionals. This is intended for medical professionals who work in geriatric settings or senior settings. So thank you for that question. Uh, I feel the content may be a little bit over the head for some of our caregivers. So I do believe you would need to have a clinical background to get the best value out of this. So I appreciate you asking that. Um, but yeah, so the International Conference on Deprescribing was great. I managed to binge watch the recording in the past week. We talked about, frankly, a lot of the trials that we cover in our Deprescribing Accelerator. So there's some really, really cool apps out there. There's the Med Safer study, there's Taper MD, there's Deprescribe, there's Operam, there's Optimize. I mean, they cover, and the researchers who are a part of those projects came and actually talk about the results and implementation and methods and strategies that they've employed and best practices that they've gained. Also, if you haven't checked it out, please support Dr. Donna Bartlett. She's also a fellow colleague and board certified geriatric pharmacist. She wrote a book on deprescribing. So it's I think the first book out there talking about her journey in the power of deprescribing. And the forward is done by Dr. Chad Wars, who's the president of ASCP. So if you haven't checked it out, look up Donna Bartlett's book. Let me try to find the name. It's like it's Med Stop. I don't want to mess it up. So let me see. It's called Med Strong. Sorry. So Med Strong, Shed Your Meds for a Better, Healthier You. And you can find it on Amazon. But yes, it's called Med Strong by Dr. Donna Bartlett. So she also was there at the Denmark Deprescribing Conference, which is why I felt the need to shout her out. But I love the energy in the room. I'm so sad I couldn't make it, but there are tons of researchers, geriatricians, clinicians, all taking away what they've gained from a multi-pronged approach to putting deprescribing into people's homes. And I don't mean, and let me make this point real quick. People think deprescribing is simply the process of stopping like medications one-on-one with the patient. Like that is a core piece of it, of course. But there's so many steps that it have to take place before we even get to that level, right? There needs to be patient education. There needs to be, some type of concerted, targeted effort in putting the word out about what deprescribing even is. There's breaking down some of these psychological barriers. People are kind of attached to meds. If you've been on the med for 30 years, you may not see a reason to stop it. So we have to kind of shift the medication mindset that we've really inculcated in this, frankly, American culture. And frankly, it's across the world. We believe, frankly, meds are like the easy, quick, fast, and dirty way to get things done. But our system sucks at incentivizing people to take the time to deprescribe because it's meant to not do that. It's meant to keep you on meds. So deprescribing is not just a one-on-one strategic tapering. There has to be a follow-up. There has to be education. There has to be patient trust. There has to be buy-in. There has to be a ready and willingness for people to make changes in lifestyle and behavior. There just needs to be, and then there needs to be continued follow up. So it starts with educating and advocacy, but it's a multi-pronged approach. So there's education, there's implementation, there's follow up, there's how are we measuring the impact. So your role and where you take it can vary. And again, I just want to make that point known that it's not just I'm coming in telling you to take off all these meds. There has to be a strategy and there has to be a targeted approach as we talk about deprescribing. All right. So that's first and foremost. But secondly, the conference was amazing. I mean, it was a good recap on some of the materials I've reviewed and studied and put into our course. But it was more. It was more. It was actually it was encouraging because it's great to see how system-wide policy change supported deprescribing in other countries. So, for example, in Newfoundland in Canada, there was this really cool study where, as a addendum to the Empower study, which was a pharmacist intervention in a community setting that was targeting benzodiazepine and sedative use in seniors to reduce falls. Um, in the Newfoundland study, I think the Safer NL study, they essentially did public advertising for deprescribing. They like made a commercial with the grandpa driving and showed them veering into the road because they essentially know that benzodiazepines like Xanax, Klonopin are associated with increased car crashes. So they made TV commercials, they made radio announcements, they made YouTube advertising and commercials, all to educate people around stopping benzodiazepines as well as proton pump inhibitors that have been on for decades. So it was so cool. It was a successful outreach. We found that those advertisements had the most impact and having more patients in the community ask and wonder, hey, should I get off some of these meds? And they saw that there was a successful impact and reduction in some of those unnecessary meds. So I had to highlight that. But more importantly, there's tons of amazing work that come out of the prescribing networks across Australia, the UK, Europe, Canada. The US is still there. We're all in this together. So I love seeing the impact that this is having internationally, but more importantly, I love knowing that it's not going away. There's more and more funding. There are more and more trials. There are more and more apps. There are more and more and more prescribers that are out there looking to change, make waves in this scene. So all I'm doing is future proofing you guys by showing you, look, if you don't jump on now, it's gonna get harder later. Well, maybe not harder, but it's it's gonna be easier to sell now than later. I'll tell you that because this is not going away. And for those who don't know, the U.S. Deprescribing Network is actually federally funded by our National Institute on Aging, and they just released a couple of pilot grants. So they're about $60,000 each. There's a larger grant, I think, for up to $160,000 for 2 or 3 community grants focusing on specifically deprescribing benzodiazepines in seniors. So check out the US Deprescribing Network to consider applying for some of their grants that may be out there. But the opportunity again is endless, guys. And so if you have a passion for opioid deprescribing, this is the course for you. If you have a passion for reducing falls risks, this is the course for you. If you're looking for deprescribing for dementia patients, this is the course for you. If you're looking to learn more about pharmacogenomics, this is a beginner course for you. I think there may be other courses better suited for that, but we do talk about pharmacogenomics and how you can leverage that in one of our modules and make that as a cornerstone of your deprescribing service. So there are tons of other options where you can take this. Genetics is definitely part of it, but the most important thing is advocacy. It's advocacy, advocacy, advocacy. And I think we in school forget how much we are advocating more than being a clinician for our patients, especially when we're dealing with polypharmacy, prescribing cascades, and over medication. So, um, yeah, a lot to cover, but we do start next week. Next Friday, 9/23 is our tentative start date. The deadline to apply for our next cohort is tomorrow, but we do have 3 seats left. So if you have been binging our content, kind of lurking in the shadows, and you want to dive in and actually apply, we will take some last minute applications. So make sure that you have a chance to at least learn more about the program and learn more about how this can best help you. That's what I'm here for, to help support you in your next best decision. So we keep our cohorts small, about 5 to 7 people, so that it's intimate and so that you get the best time out of our group coaching and hybrid interaction. So along with our content live that's taught, you're going to get tons and tons of downloadable resources you can throw into clinical practice today. Whether you want to be an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur, you can use the skill sets in any shape or form and leverage this, whether you want to speak, create your own deprescribing workshop, do your own deprescribing one-on-one service, partner with clinics that are dealing with overprescribed patients. Opportunity is endless from where you want to take it. Um, but again, we're looking for clinicians. We're looking for clinicians, and I don't want to hear you don't have the time. It's not fair to yourself if you're living a life that isn't in alignment with what you want to do, because you're already wasting time. If you're not living fully happy as hell for what you're doing, then you're wasting your time. You're wasting your own time because you're not living in that purpose, in that joy, in that level of service that you got into this profession to begin with. Okay. So hope this was helpful. Again, in our portal, it's 3 months of direct coaching, but you're going to have access to all of the content for an entire year. You'll have access to our past alumni, our past cohorts. So you'll have lectures from them as well as their coaching sessions. So you'll take away some gems from what they've learned in their process. And our alumni are doing great. We've had Dr. Judy Waldman, Ms. Sharon Fant, and Ms. Charlene Sparks from our first cohort. Ms. Charlene Sparks is leading the charge with her own deprescribing and medication safety conference, which is going to be held in November in Greensboro. She will be looking for nurses, nursing homes, as well as other community stakeholders on how they can learn more about medication safety and deprescribing. So she's using her network to talk more about deprescribing and empower more nurses to be active in the role of deprescribing. We have Miss Sharon Fant, who is leading her Healthy Healing Circle. and she does basically a workshop with her healing circle and has different topics, different speakers twice a month for her community, and that's how she's leveraging Deprescribing. And Judy Waldman, one of our first ones, has used pharmacogenomics and has also used her passion for nutrition and health coaching, and is targeting our adolescents now before they become older and harder to manage. She's decided to switch more to that role to better advocate and better use genetic testing to get them off of unnecessary meds. So our second cohort was the Office of Area of Aging. That was with UF Health System in Gainesville, with the Elder Options Group. So they are an area of agency and aging. They have a team of nurses and medical assistants. They do in-home visits. They do med reviews. They help with social barriers. So they even help with costs for medications for patients. It's so cool how much amazing stuff they do. They do diabetes checks, smoking cessation. They do they look up funds, they look up like coupons for people, they look up ways to get them to apply for social services, they help with food and nutrition. I love the amount of impact that they have in the community in Florida. So that was our second cohort. They've taken away tons of knowledge on how to advocate, and their primary focus was reducing heart failure readmission rates within the UF health system. So, in using those home visits, they already had a pretty good grasp on understanding weight management. We, of course, focused on drilling down on stopping unnecessary NSAID use, so ibuprofen, Aleve, and they took away, I'm sure, tons of little gems from our previous summer cohort. So I have to thank Katina Mustafer and the amazing crew who just finished up our past cohort. So hope this was helpful for you all. Thank you for tuning in to the Red Pill versus Blue Pill. Again, we are here. I'm Delon, your chief Deprescriber, and we all can become Deprescribers, particularly in how we show up and how we advocate and how we serve our seniors. So, hope this was awesome for you all as much as was for me. But yes, the deadline is tomorrow. Do not delay. Do not delay. If you want to just direct message me real quick, I'll squeeze you in for a quick call this weekend. We can definitely talk more about your goals, your passion, your why. I there's a pretty there's an application process. I interview every applicant to make sure this is the best fit for them. I don't just want your money. I want you to take away something valuable and something that will level up and really reignite your why. I want you to reignite your why as to why you're doing this. So much love to you guys. Next week, I'll be in Santa Ana for another conference. I'll also be at a number of conferences in October and November. There's like 4 or 5 caregiver conferences I'll be speaking at. But I will be at ASCP in San Antonio. So I'll be there doing one of the express talks, talking again about the power of deprescribing and how pharmacists need to unleash this power of ours. So thank you all for tuning in. Much love. You guys have an amazing week, and I'll see you next time. Take care.